Hopefully we're not glitching. Sometimes we are on. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Chaos, Carnage, Confusion hitting the United Kingdom. So yesterday in London, there were mass protests in London. Now, I don't really understand what's going on here, but one of the few things I've said previously is you can't negotiate with certain types of people. Now, there is a ceasefire now in the Middle East, in Gaza. There's a ceasefire. Aid trucks are going in. It looks like the protesters, they've got what they wanted. But let's just contextualize this. And I'm just pointing out things. The same people that were celebrating then turned into protesters. So those people that were celebrating the attack on the 7th of October in Israel, they're the same people who were out celebrating, yeah, there's an attack. And then they were protesting, saying, "Oh no, the Israelis are attacking us now. We're protesting that." And now there's a ceasefire. They're out protesting again. Honestly, guys, I don't understand why they're out protesting. What I do know is that anybody who says that they understand the Middle East do not understand the Middle East. And you've got to understand that you can't negotiate with some people. They're always going to want to protest about something. They're always going to want to come out and be on the streets and be waving their little placards and saying, "Oh, we want this. Oh, we want this." Kind of doesn't matter what you give them. And this is my opinion, guys, and I'm sure you guys will agree. It doesn't matter what you give some people, they're always going to want more. And that's the reality of the situation. And that's why, when I say to people, you can't appease people, you can't negotiate with certain people. And this is the reality. And you guys can see that now in real time. So there's been protests. We want to stop the war. We want aid to get into Gaza. Gaza, right, okay, that's done. We want something else now. What do you want? What do you actually want? So I'm going to read you guys an article here, and I think this is quite telling on what these people actually, what these people actually want. So this is an article from where's this from? The Daily Mail, and this was released, I think, this morning. Sorry, this was last night, 11th of October, 23:06, updated 23:45. Police have arrested pro-Israel supporters who are holding placards which read, "We stand with British Jews." I don't know how that's offensive, but, they've been arrested. While pro-Palestine protesters were filmed chanting, "Death to the IDF," elsewhere in central London. So what is it that these people want? Do they actually want peace or do they want death? Those two things are not, those two things can't come together. You can't have peace and also want death. So now it turns out these people who are out, so let's just contextualize this, guys, okay? Chaos, carnage, and confusion. And I'm going to focus on the confusion bit now because I don't think people really understand why they're out protesting. The same people that were out protesting, celebrating about the 7th of October attacks on Israel, they're the same people who were then out protesting, about the, wanting to stop to the war. And these are the same people who are now on the street shouting "Death to the IDF." So what do they actually want? Let's just say, for example, let's just go down this. Let's just say that Netanyahu comes up and he says, "Right, you lot chanting in London, 'Death to the IDF. Fair enough. We're going to abandon the whole IDF. The Israelis, we are not going to have a defense force." I can guarantee that they would be out on the street next week wanting something else in numbers, chanting, protesting. Whatever it is you give these people, they're always going to want more. And we can see that now in real time, guys. We really can see that in real time. Right, let me jump over and get some comments, guys. That's what we're talking about today, the chaos, carnage, and confusion that has spread on the streets of the United Kingdom. Lots of arrests were made yesterday. The official numbers are not out yet. If they come out while I'm on the live stream, I'll let you guys know. But we are triple streaming, ladies and gentlemen. We're on YouTube, we are on X, and we are on TikTok. So if you, what was I going to say? I had an important message to tell you guys then. It'll come back to me at some point. Right, let me jump over and get the questions, guys. I'm going to start with YouTube this morning. Endeavour to Preserve is saying, GB News is fun to watch. So, yeah, Endeavour to Preserve, as I understand it, he's in the United States. And GB News is kind of like the only right-leaning news outlet that we've got in the United Kingdom. Templar Matt is saying, "Morning all." Two sides are saying, "Morning all." We Fat Shug is saying there will never be a ceasefire over there. Let me pin that actually. Yeah, I would agree with you. I would agree with you, We Fat Shug. I'm skeptical of any ceasefire. And look, guys, I've said this quite a few times. I just hope those hostages get released. I really do. I just hope those hostages get to go back to their families. Four pauses saying morning everyone, good morning, and then We Fat Shug, sorry, he's building on his comment and saying, I understand that religion and politics poison the mind. That's the number one problem for humanity. It is, guys. It is. We're all focused on these little books that were written thousands of years ago. Oh, look, this. What we should be focused on is getting off this planet, getting into a, putting a colony on the moon, putting a colony on Mars, putting a colony on Venus, going and settling these, going and settling immediate short term, settling our immediate galactic neighborhood, and then look at total galactic domination within 10,000 years. That's what I would be doing if I was in charge of the world. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not. Slim saying good morning. Then they will fight among themselves for a bigger share of the pie. Yeah, so I think what Slim's talking about there is we were talking about, these protesters that are out on the streets. Remember, the people who are protesting on the streets in the United Kingdom now are the same people that were celebrating on the 7th of October. Then they were protesting because they wanted a ceasefire. Now they've got a ceasefire and they're chanting death to the IDF. So it's always something, it's always something that they want. Right, okay. Can I have £10? Yeah, here's £10. I want £20. You said you wanted 10. No, I want 20 now. Right, here's 20. I want 50. Oh, I want 50. Right, okay. I'm just going to stop this in a minute. Right, how is that? They're like, yeah, I just want £50. Here's 50. I want 100. Like, right, you can never stop giving to some people. So the best thing is just don't give them anything. That's how I go, guys. Like I say, I've spent quite a lot of time in the Middle East, and I will quite confidently say that anyone who says they understand the Middle East does not understand the Middle East. It's kind of like quantum physics, right? It's kind of like quantum physics. You see the results, but you don't know how you got there. You really have to think, how did that just happen? And it doesn't make sense, but you look at it and it's like, right, it's working, it's operating. I don't understand it. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to go in there. I'm not going to start prodding around. I'm going to stick with Newtonian physics. Thank you very much. Then We Fat Shuggy saying again, when you have criminals and traitors in charge, just being alive is a crime for them. They've been fighting for as long as I can remember. Nothing will change. Yeah, I agree. And even in the Middle East, they will fight among themselves. I spent a lot of time in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and it's very tribal. The regions out there are very tribal. This tribe is allied with this tribe. And by tribe, I think tribe might be the wrong word. I can't think of a better word. I'll go with tribe. Yeah, I think tribe is the right word. So it's very tribal, and I don't mean like people like in little, I guess they are. I mean like, so first of all, your family, then your extended family, then your region. And it's very tribal, and you get lots of tribal warlords. And that's one of the problems that the West don't understand. And I can guarantee that people like David Lammy do not understand this. David Lammy thinks he can go over there because he's, because he, and he tells everybody every 2 minutes he's a black man. David Lammy goes over there and he tries to make these deals, but he doesn't understand the granular fabric of these of how these societies are set up. Potsinator is saying it's typical East at the moment. One conflict ends and another one starts. Crazy times. Yeah. Look, guys, I've given you guys. James is saying it's Sunday roast, beef or pork. James, honestly, I'm all beefed out at the moment. I had far too much beef last night. So I think I'll be sticking to vegetables for a while. Where was I going on there? Yeah, sorry. So what? We Fat Sugar is saying they've been fighting for as long as I can remember. Nothing will change in the Middle East. So when we talk about the Middle East and a ceasefire in Gaza, I did a video I don't know, maybe a week ago or something when this ceasefire was first announced. peace in Gaza is equal to war with Iran. So remember, there's that trade route, and I don't know if you get. Let me just Google this. Let me Google this, guys, real quick, and I'll get this up so I know what. So I'm 100% right. Right, I think this was it here. It was called the Israel Land Corridor. No, I don't think that was it, actually. Oh, no, this was it, guys. Sorry. Right, so this is what all this fighting now, in my opinion, in my not so humble opinion, is about this trade route. So Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Jordan open a land corridor to Israel to bypass the Red Sea blockade and the Strait of Hormuz. So that's the reality of what was happening, this trade route. Now, once you consider these trade routes, guys, look, I'm going to give you a little bit of like geopolitical spectrum here. Like if you come back and if you're in space looking down now, think about a map of the Middle East. You've got like Saudi Arabia in that, you've got Saudi Arabia in that dominating region. You've then got, so you've got Saudi Arabia, you've got United Arab Emirates, you've got Bahrain, and then you've got the Persian Gulf. Well, that side for you guys. The problem there is 20% of the world's oil goes through some people say 20%, up to 20% of the world's oil goes through the Persian Gulf. Therefore, 20% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the Strait of Hormuz, I knew a lot about the Strait of Hormuz before it was even a big thing, because back in 2000 and I think it was 2002. No, it wasn't. It was early 2003, actually. Early 2003, before the invasion of Iraq, the British military sent all their vehicles via, the Persian Gulf, and we had to cross through the Strait of Hormuz. And obviously, when you're doing these things, you get briefed on them. You get told why, you get told about their significance. So I understood the significance of the Strait of Hormuz long before anybody was talking about it. So Iran, at any time they want, Iran has the capability to just apply the brakes and say, right, no more ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. And you can imagine what a 20% stop in world oil production, in world oil sales or shipments, I guess. You can only imagine what what problems that would cause. So now you've got to consider that the Saudi Arabians, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan were opening up a land corridor to Israel, to the Mediterranean, to totally bypass that. So in that context, it wouldn't matter. It would not matter at all if the Iranians said, right, we close the Strait of Hormuz, because it doesn't matter. The land corridor is already there. And that's why I feel these attacks were happening. And that's why I feel a ceasefire in Gaza means a greater war with Iran, because Iran is not going to want to lose that influence. That's the trade reasons. And then you've got the nuclear option. So now you've got Iran saying they're going to continue their Iran are saying they are going to continue their uranium enrichment program, and you've got the Americans back in 2023 signing like whatever decree it was, saying that they would take all action necessary to stop Iran gaining a nuclear weapon. So now you've got the trade, the financial aspect, and now you've got the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, whereby the Americans have said no and the Iranians are saying yes. It's going to come to loggerheads, guys. And as soon as the ceasefire, the peace deal in Gaza, to me, that says a wider conflict with Iran. Let me have a look at this. Saudi Arabia has quietly joining the United Arab Emirates in opening continuous, over Persian Gulf to Israel. There it is, guys. There, look. Continuous overland trade from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean seaports, creating a critical alternative to the Houthi-threatened Red Sea shipping lanes and the Strait of Hormuz. So that's, trade, money, finance, oil. That's what this, that's what this whole thing is, that's what we're talking about. Oh, April Lee. Oh, guys, I'm going to get the TikTok chat, actually. I've been neglecting you guys this morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, you guys on TikTok, guys. Okay, so chaos, carnage, confusion hits the United Kingdom. We're talking about the protests that hit the United Kingdom yesterday. So first of all, these people are celebrating. They're out on the streets celebrating in mass numbers. Oh, yay, Israel's under attack. Israel's being attacked. Then they're out on the streets protesting because Israel's attacking the people who've attacked them. Now they're out on the streets. I don't know why. I don't know why they're out on the streets now, guys. There's been a ceasefire, but there's mass protests, mass arrests in the United Kingdom. Very confusing. And like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, those people who claim to understand the Middle East do not understand the Middle East. So let me jump over here, guys, and get the chat on. I'll start with TikTok. Well, I won't start with TikTok. I'll start with TikTok now. I've just been talking about, I've just been on YouTube. Right. So many people joining. Good morning, everyone joining. Cosmic Chances, Mr. One, Max Payne. I hope that's not a real name, Max Payne. Paul Maline, Joanne, Lizzie, Jellybean, Alice Fuller, Victoria Clofton, lots of people joining, guys. Good morning. Lulswell saying hi. Natalie87 saying hi. Hello to you. Just let me get down. Loads of people joining, guys. Listen, if you're watching and you've not done so already, can you please hit those buttons, whatever platform you're watching on, whether that be TikTok, YouTube, or X? Can you hit those buttons that help this channel grow, ladies and gentlemen? If you're on YouTube, they're down there. The like, comment, subscribe button, bell notification. So you guys don't miss another video. But I am on every morning at 10, every evening at 8, letting you guys know what's been happening. Martin Quinn is saying morning all. Hang on, let me get. There was a question here. Where is it? April Lee saying morning. Right, April Lee is saying the UK to pay 40 billion to rebuild Gaza. Hang on, let me Google this. It's all about trade, guys. This is all about trade. Wow. Wow. So UK to help bankroll 40. Oh, right. Okay, hang on. It doesn't say the UK is going to pay. Right. Okay. So what I'm getting here. Right. I'm getting a few different articles here, guys. Okay. So I am getting this 40 billion. But so what I'm getting here is the UK to help bankroll the 40 billion. So what I'm reading here is that it's going to cost 40 billion to rebuild Gaza, but the UK is not going to pay that. We're not going to pay that whole amount. I think the UK is just going to. I don't know why we're contributing. I really don't, guys. I really don't know why we're contributing. It seems like anywhere in the world, like. If anyone needs any money in the world, the United Kingdom, it seems like we're just like a walking cash machine. There's that thing, isn't there? Where men, I don't know what it's called, but men, like some men have this thing where they get like, what's it called? Somebody help me out here. It's like cottaging, but it's with money. And men go to these places and they just get robbed, basically, and they get off on it. It seems to me like the British government maybe they've got those fetishes where it's just like, we're just giving our money away to people and just like, I don't know what it's called. But I know it's something. Anyway. D-Marie Gen X is saying good morning to you, D-Marie Gen X. Good morning, everyone. And Martin Quinn is saying it's like the UK is the biggest laundering place around. it's crazy, guys. We can't afford to put heat. We can't afford to heat homes for our old people. But yet, there's always billions to send away in overseas aid. There's always billions to go to this country. There's always billions to go to this country. And look, guys, when we talk about overseas aid, I used to work there, and I can tell you guys now with 100%. Well, I'll give you an example. I'll give you this anecdotally. I used to work for one of the largest non-government organizations, and I was a security manager for Iraq and Syria. So I moved between Iraq and Syria quite often. I preferred it in Iraq. I love those Iraqi kebabs, guys. I do. I love those Iraqi kebabs. I'm not going to lie. So I used to move between Iraq and Syria, and we had in the Iraq office, I think there was like 20 staff, like 20 people in the Iraq office, and then maybe 10, maximum 15 people in the Syrian office. So like 35 people. Each one of, well, not all of those people, but each one of those people are taking like, they're taking between like, I don't know, 8 to 10 grand a month. Sterling, that goes straight, that's non-taxable. 8 to 10 grand a month goes straight into their bank account or an offshore bank account or whatever. So you can imagine the amount of money now that's being spent on that office. How many of those, like out of those people, so call it 35, call it 30, just to be fair, because people would come in and then people would go, call it 30 people, at a constant rate, about 30 people in those offices. Guess how many of those 30 people actually went out on the ground and did NGO stuff, who had a specific task and did NGO stuff. So you've got 30 people all taking a shit ton of money, all taking a load of money. This is all from donations. This is all from, oh, you guys are doing such a good job out there helping. We're so humanitarian. This is all from donations. Guess how many of those 30 people, I know it was more, but we'll go with 30, went out on the ground and actually did stuff? You're not going to believe this. One person. There was one project and one regular project and one person who would go out there and they would conduct NGO stuff. Now, the numbers that these officers would generate were phenomenal. So this one guy, he would go out there and he would teach a class. He would teach a class of, teach a class of 30. And then, he would teach this class of 30, whether that's like human rights or international law or, child safety, all good things. He would teach that class of 30, whatever, 30, doesn't matter, whatever. I'll use my calculator. He would then say to that class of 30, right, I want each one of you to go out now and teach this class to 30 people. What? Yeah. So now you've got 30 times 30. What's 30 times 30? Is it 30 times 30? Yeah, it is. Right, let me see what 30. Guys, it's Raven maths. Let me. Okay. So from that one course, he's generating 900 beneficiaries. That's the reality. And what he would do then, he would say, right, you guys now go and teach another 30 people. And I want you to come back next week before I teach you the next class. And I want you to write all their names down on a piece of paper. I don't know, Abdul Muhammad Al-Shahir or whatever. And then for each name you give me, I'll give you $5. No, I'll give you $10. And that's for that student. I think that's how it worked. And then you pay that student. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, that was it. Yeah, it was $5, and then he was supposed to then give that $5 to that student for partaking in the class. Does anyone see any problems with this? Do you see any problems with this? Does anybody see any problems with this? I could only speculate because I couldn't audit these people. That some of those names that were handed in, maybe the odd one, Certainly, nobody would have been corrupt enough just to write a load of fake names down and said, yeah, just give me the money. Nice, easy back burner for me. You know. So every week, this guy would generate 900 names. So then that soon builds up like 3,000, whatever it is, 3,700. Those names then, 600, sorry. Those names then got sent to the head office. The head office then had all this data. Oh, look at what our money's doing. Look at how much money, how our money's helping. So I know where that money's going. It doesn't help. It literally just goes back to it doesn't do anything, guys. You know, it doesn't go where it's needed. And it is frustrating. I was also there another time and was down in Syria. It was near, I don't know if you guys remember when it was all kicking off in Syria, Raqqa, where, you know, Jihadi John was cruising and the Beatles. So we was operating just outside there. And again, you know, I may have told this story before. It was one of the one-off projects that we would do. So sometimes we'll go out there and say, right, we're going to do, because you can't employ people, so you have to do cash for volunteer work. So they would come, you know, the locals, and you would give them cash, because something in the legal system, we couldn't employ people. So you would give them cash. I don't know how much it was. I never dealt with that money side of it. And they would do some work. So whether that's painting the streets, painting the sidewalks, cleaning up, renovating a football field. So, you know, but these are like one-off things. So I was there with the project manager. And the project manager, she said to this woman, she said, and my Arabic is more Baghdadabic, so it's very difficult for me to try and listen to Syrian Arabic because it's a different dialect. I think she was from Idlib. I think this woman was from Idlib, and we was just outside Raqqa. And the project manager asked her through the interpreter, and she said, oh, can I ask why you're here? And the woman, she said, oh, well, you know, I'm here because there's no work in Idlib, and I've come up here to work so I can get some money for my family. She said, all right, okay. And the project manager said to her, well, if you tell us something really bad has happened to you, we'll be able to get more money for you, and we'll be able to help your community more. And she said, no, I've just come up from Idlib from this work, you know, I've literally just come up here. And she said to her again, she said, well, if you tell me that your sons have been killed or you've been raped and you have to come here, then we can get more money for you. And the woman, she said, no, definitely not happened. And then the interpreter said, yes, that's what happened. So they took a picture of this woman, wrote this fabricated story below her. That was then a poster, you know, sent as a poster, as a case study. That was sent back to the head office for all the donors to go, oh, we're doing such a great job. We're doing such a great job. More money, more money, more money. I'm thinking, like, it's a massive scam. Nobody is ever going to go and find that woman. Never. They're never going to audit that. That is never going to be audited. Nobody's ever going to go out there and find that woman and say, right, is this true? And she'll go, no, that's not true. Oh, it's not happened, you know. So, you know, you can understand how sorry, guys, I'm going on a side quest. So we're talking there about the United Kingdom putting money into paying for overseas money to these NGOs and stuff. Right, let me get back into the questions, guys. Sorry, I went on a side quest. Raven went on a side quest, guys. Let's get back on track. Chaos, carnage, and confusion in the United Kingdom. Protests breaking out now. I honestly don't. I'm so confused. Can somebody help me out what these protests are for? I don't know. And initially, they were celebrations because the Palestinians. I don't know. I don't know why you would celebrate that, but they did. Then they were protesting because they didn't like the Israelis fighting back. Now there's a ceasefire and aid trucks are getting in. They're protesting again for, I don't know, guys. Listen, I'm a little bit, I don't know. I don't understand the whole thing. But yeah, sorry, Martin Quinn is saying the UK is the biggest money laundering place around. AJ is saying hi all. Hi to you, AJ. Martin Quinn is saying, wait till the water bills go up next year. They're all overseas that own them. Yeah, they are. It's phenomenal how much. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I think, well, when I was doing the research into this earlier this year, 15% of the UK's water, let me just Google this, 15%. I know I've spelled a few words wrong there. Right, okay, so here's the thing, guys. When we talk about the water, this, you know how I always rant on about the water companies in the United Kingdom? Here we are, guys, right? Okay, according to a November 2022 report from The Guardian, 15% of the shares in English water companies were owned by entities classified as unknown. So where's that money going to? Is it going to the Taliban? Is it going to ISIS? Do ISIS own the Brit? It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. I mean, what a fantastic way of attacking a country. Buy their utilities, destroy their utilities, and use that money that they're paying you to fund your war against them. Does that not strike anyone as concerning, guys, that 15% of our water, so like everybody needs water. So 15% of the United Kingdom are paying a water bill, could be paying it to ISIS, guys, for all we know. That is the reality of the situation. Now, that is from a Guardian article that was released in November 2022. Sounds phenomenal, doesn't it, guys? All right, sounds phenomenal. But what I did find out is there's like, I think 10% of the UK's, under 10% of the UK's water companies are actually owned by British companies. But like, the numbers are phenomenal, guys. The numbers really are phenomenal. Priv Caro on TikTok is saying, when governments just give out money, it makes me wonder who is blackmailing them. Well, you know, hang on. See, what happens is, you know, the government, and I've seen this in Ukraine. The government will pledge 100 billion for Ukraine, 3 billion a year for Ukraine. Right. So where does that money actually go? Okay. Well, we're going to give that money to UK companies to go out there and do stuff. Right. Okay. So what are they actually going to do when they go out there? Well, like I've just told you guys, they're going to set up offices, pay themselves a hefty salary. Potentially people that they know are consultants for them, so they can go out there and get like, you know, 12 and $2,000 a day or whatever. I don't know what they are paying right now. You know, so this is big money. And when these big money go out there, you know, big donations, you've got to ask, where is that money going? So the United Kingdom or whatever government, they do this mass, you know, they'll do this, you know, 100 million to this country. What they're actually doing is that money will be spent on British NGOs. Those British NGOs will go out there and do nothing. So it's kind of like, it's just totally a false economy, a lot of it. Martin Quinn is saying, if I invent a Muslim country and ask for some money off the UK, will they give it to me? Do you know what? I think that may be, an, well, let's just say if you invent a country, let's just say if we invent, like, I don't know, maybe there would be. I mean, could we get like, but like, do you think we could get like one of those Scottish islands and claim independence from the UK or something? Like, I don't know if that's feasible. CC Outdoors is saying, morning, Sean. I've been laughing at for saying the exact same thing. Oh, what have you been saying, CC Outdoors? What have we been laughing at, CC Outdoors? Can you give context to that, what you're saying? CC Outdoors is saying, I've been laughed at for saying the exact same thing. What are we talking about, NGOs there and the money? Or are we talking about the chaos, carnage and confusion in the United Kingdom, whereby right now we have people initially celebrating, then they're protesting, you know, they're initially celebrating, then they're protesting, then they get what they want from the protests, and then they're still out protesting. It's just confusing, guys. It's just confusing to me. It really is confusing. And Sharon Owen is saying, good morning. Good morning, Sharon. Good morning, everyone. Listen, guys, we are Triple streaming this morning. We're on YouTube, we're on X, and we are on TikTok. I will be initially on this live stream on YouTube, TikTok, and X. I will then close the TikTok down, and I will just be streaming on YouTube and X. Right, I'm going to jump over and get some comments on. YouTube. Right, Potsinator is saying, it's typical East at the moment, Middle East at the moment. One conflict ends and another one starts. This is crazy times. It is, guys. You know, like I've said previously, I think a ceasefire in Gaza, on the Gaza Strip, is going to lead to a wider conflict with Iran. So now you've got the rebuilding of Gaza. Do you think that's going to have a port? Do you think there's going to be a really competent port in there? Do you think this trade route, this east-west trade route through Saudi Arabia with the United Arab Emirates, Jordan and Israel, do you think that's going to come into play? And how do you think the Iranians are going to take that? Do you think the Iranians are going to be happy that their influence is just being cut out? I would say not. Right, guys, I'm just going to jump down. There's loads of comments, guys. Look, guys, the comments are going crackers here. Right, Donna is saying, how are we giving money? How are we giving out money when we are at this? The total amount the government owes is called national debt. It's currently about 2.9 trillion. You could have a good. Couldn't we have a good space space program with that? Couldn't we have a good space program, guys, with 2.9 trillion, or maybe just like that 0.9 trillion? I could have that. You know, and I could build my moated castle and my runway that goes into a mountain. You know, I think I could spend that a lot better. Right, okay. So CC Outdoors here is right. Okay, so CC Outdoors on TikTok has just commented. He's you know, people were laughing at him when he was saying it's ridiculous that foreign companies own our utilities. And he's saying regarding foreign entities owning our infrastructure, companies, money laundering and poisoning water. Yeah, so look, guys, I've just said this, you know, and for those people, you know, when you say these things to people and they're like, oh, that's stupid, that'd never do that. All right, riddle me this, riddle me that, Batman. As per an article from The Guardian in 2022, 15% of the UK's water companies are owned by unknown entities. That's what it says, unknown. Unknown. All right. So let's just say how far down conspiracy lane do you need to go to think, right, do we think like a percentage of that 15% could be owned by like ISIS or a terrorist group, whereby they're using our own money to fund a war against that? Or, do you know what? Not even like, maybe even like Russian, I don't know, Russian military, what is it? Not KGB. What's GRU? GRU, you know, Russian GRU. Maybe they own it. We don't know. And that's the problem. We don't know who's owning this. So we may actually be funding. Let me just try and get some numbers on this. I'm going to ask AI how much I'm asking AI how much the UK spends on water bills each year. Right, that's per person. How much does the UK I'm not getting this. What do I need to search for? How much the UK as a country? As a country. Right, okay. Average water bill in England is £603. Right. So how many people live in England? And then we'll times that by 603. Jesus Christ, this number's phenomenal, guys. This number is absolutely phenomenal. Right, let me just try and work this out, guys. I'm going to do Raven maths here. I'm going to do Raven maths. This is rudimental Raven maths, guys. RRM. So we've got 56 million. So the number's phenomenal. This number's going to be phenomenal, guys. 56. 489. 489. You know, I'm just going to use 56. I'm going to do 50. Yeah, I will actually do it. 56, 489, 800. 800 times 603. Jesus Christ. Jesus. Right, okay. So the UK, England, well, guys, I'm trying to give you guys figures on how much money we could be funding our own demise. So the UK is spending, so we spend per year in England 34 billion on water. 34 billion pound we spend on water. So let's divide that by 100 and then times that by 15. Okay. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? Are you ready for how much we are funding potential terrorists per year? So the United Kingdom could, and I'm not saying we are, guys. Remember, this is rudimental Raven maths, right? So the United Kingdom, right, guys, 5.1 billion. So we could be spending 5.1 billion pounds of our money every year could be funding terrorism. It could be funded like of our own money. So, you know, when people ask, where's this money coming from? Where is it coming from? Oh, how are they? How can, you know, how can this group fund this so much? We're paying for it ourselves. Now, just with 15% of the UK's water companies being, you know, that money going to an unknown entity, because that's unknown, that could be a foreign bad guy. So that's 5.1 billion a year, guys. Could be. We don't know where that money's going. I kind of like to know where that 5.1 billion a year is going. Again, you know, is that going to fund foreign agents? Is that going to fund protests? Is that going to fund subversion in our country? Or is it buying someone a nice yacht? The problem is we don't know. And it's ridiculous that we don't know. Right, let me jump over to YouTube, guys, and get the comments on that. Look, guys, we are talking about Carnage. If I've not even given you guys the right. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys the headlines now from yesterday's protests. Pro-Palestine protest infiltrated. Police arrest pro-Israel supporters holding placards saying "We stand with Britain's Jews." I don't know why that's an arrestable offence, but it is. While pro-Palestine protesters chant "Death to the IDF." So here you can see that direct link between we're celebrating, we're protesting, we've got what we want something else. You know, it just seems like a never-ending cycle. It seems a never-ending cycle of, you know, people wanting different stuff. And when you give in to these people, you know, they always want something more. So the best thing I can do is just don't give them anything. Tens of thousands attend pro-Palestine march in London. Again, like, I'm so confused. What are they what do they want now? Like, what do they want? Literally, what do they want? Tens of thousands of pro-Palestines gathered in central London the day after the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas came into effect. The demonstration, organised by the Palestine Coalition, began along Victoria Embankment on Saturday afternoon. Attendees marched towards Whitehall, where the rally was held. We have got the police here, and this is where I think it's going, guys. Police use Public Order Act to keep rival protesters apart. I do think this is what's going to happen, guys. I do think these. Somebody's got a sign there saying, okay. I do think these protests are just going to continue, and then the government are going to bring in these new draconian laws which stop all protests. And then, the next time people want to protest about something, you're not going to be able to do it. But guys, look, let's be real. Let's be real. Do we think protesting actually solves anything? Do we think protesting actually has any effect on anything? You know, when there was like the big protest, the Unite the Kingdom march, and you know, guys, I said this at the time. Let me caffeinate myself. You know, when there's a big Unite the Kingdom march in London, people are marching down there. I said, look, guys, it's a great thing. People have found unity, but what is it actually going to change? If you think about this, the people who are making these decisions, they're probably sat on, like, you know, sat in the Caribbean or something, and they're just like watching this on their phones. It's not going to affect them at all. And this is why I keep saying, you know, people will soon suss onto this. People will soon become aware of this. And people will start to find those decision makers and then target those decision makers. Timsky on TikTok is saying, morning, mate, what have I missed? Timsky, we have been talking initially about carnage, chaos, and confusion in the United Kingdom, whereby the same people that were initially out celebrating because of the 7th of October attack on Israel then became protesters because they were against the war in Gaza. Now the same people, now there's a ceasefire, they're on the streets, and I honestly, guys, I don't know what they want now. I genuinely don't know what they want now. Are they shouting, we want free? I don't know what they're chanting, guys. I don't know what they want. And it does to me seem you keep giving in to people, they always want something else. They always want something more. Well, we've been down a few side quests as well. We've been on the foreign companies owning the British utility companies, nearly the water companies. We went down, I give you guys some Raven maths. I said 5.1 billion of our money, not even tax money. This is in money that should be reinvested in our water system, could be going to foreign entities that wish to do us harm. That's the reality, guys. That is the reality. We don't know. Because we don't know, I think I'm fair by speculating and saying we don't know. Anyway, let me jump over onto YouTube, guys. Guys, the comments on YouTube are phenomenal today, guys. Thank you so much. Have you seen the people at the protest? They're definitely rented by the government. Yeah, a lot of it's well known. It's well known that paid stooges go to these protests. 100% a lot of these people are paid stooges. I would say you could notice this. I think the best visualization of this, if you guys want to go and check out some previous videos, is when there was trying to get migrants into Poland from Belarus. Like back at, I think it was like last year. Last year there was a lot of chaos on the border with Poland and Belarus. I mean, the Polish have absolutely militarized that border. I mean, fair play to the Polish, but if you watch those videos, you could pick out provocateurs, people who would be cutting wire, and they would be the agent provocateurs. In Russian, the word is tatushka. So they're people who are sent, you know, like into crowds to rouse those crowds up. And these things happen 100%. You know, I've seen this with my own eyes. Donna is saying, Hinduist Times, Pakistan and Afghanistan clash. Taliban says certain sections in Pakistan want to spoil ties, over 65 killed. It does seem to me, guys, you know, like the whole Middle East. Look, guys, you know, literally what we were saying when we started this live stream. Anybody who claims to understand the Middle East does not understand the Middle East. Those guys will constantly be fighting. You constantly, you know, they'll be constantly fighting. They don't really, they have a lot, you know, it's very tribal, especially around that region, especially, you know, that region of, you know, Afghanistan, by that, like, you know, that whole southern, southwestern border. You know, you've got, I think you've like got Qatar. Is it Quetta? Quetta. You've got Quetta in Pakistan, and then just over the border in Afghanistan, you've got, I can't remember what the closest town is on the Afghanistan border, but you have a huge drugs route there. I would speculate that drugs route, since the coalition have left, I would say that you know, the opiates being produced in Afghanistan, I would say that has like just rocketed. So you've got a lot of money being made there. You've got a lot of tribal factions, and they don't really understand. And I don't mean this negatively, but they don't, I think understand's the wrong word. They don't really respect borders in that there isn't any borders, you know, there's no borders. There's no like big, you know, there's no big 50-foot wall like, you know, like the Americans have built on the southern border. So it's very easy to cross those borders, you know, you know, you don't have to show your passport when you're crossing the borders between, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Yes, of course. At the main checkpoints, you will, but there's, you know, there's plenty of passes, plenty of mountain passes that are just, you can just drive over them, guys, without showing anything. So, you know, yeah, that whole region, it's always going to be chaos. It's always going to be carnage. You know, I do think we're heading to another Middle Eastern conflict, and I do think that is going to be solely contained by the United States. Sorry, guys, I'm just getting up the comments. I think James, where's James? James, I think James's comments been deleted. Endeavour to Preserve says, if you want to save money on your water, open your mouth when it's raining. I don't know why people don't build standpipes in their house, guys. You know, like here in the United Kingdom, we have a ton of water. We have loads of water, guys. We have loads of water. You know, so I don't know why people don't have standpipes in their own house. Right, let me jump over and get these TikTok chats, guys, and then I will be closing TikTok down and I'll be jumping over to YouTube, and I will be continuing on YouTube. I'll be continuing on YouTube. Timsky is saying, and now the black hole doubles as we rebuild Gaza. Timsky saying 40 billion to Gaza from the UK. Right, guys, is that 40 billion actually the UK's pledge? Because I looked at an article earlier and it said the UK to contribute towards this 40 billion. So as I understand it, that 40 billion is what it's going to cost to rebuild Gaza. I don't think the UK is footing that whole bill, although it wouldn't surprise me. Sharon Owen is saying, protest won't work every Saturday morning. It's now like a day out for some. Yeah, you know what it is. It's a day out for some people. What are we protesting today? Give me that different T-shirt. Protest on a Wednesday and stop Parliament will get some attention. Even if you get attention, if the people was, everything comes from money, guys. Everything comes from money. So let's just consider this, guys. Let's try and tie everything in together. All right, let's try and tie everything in we've been talking about. Let's just pretend that 15% of our money that's spent, guys, it's a phenomenal amount as well. It's 5.1 billion. 5.1 billion that we don't know where it's going. My Raven maths, guys, call me out on that. Please question me if you don't think those maths are right. Please question it. 5.1 billion a year we send to people we don't know. So 15% of your money, and obviously I don't know where these water companies are, but holistically, if we're the United Kingdom as a whole, 15% out of your annual water bill could be going to ISIS, could be going to the Russian government, could be going to Tony Blair. I don't know. Could be coming to me. It's certainly not. So let's just say that 15, we're just using the water. So this comes from, Sharon Owens. So let's just say, and that's lining somebody's pocket. Unless those things affect that person that's lining their pocket, nothing's ever going to change. So yeah, you might close down Parliament, you might have a little swizzle here and there. As long as those people are still getting money. And I actually read the biggest Black Lives Matter page was from I think it was a New Zealand guy, and he set up this Black Lives Matter page, and he was raking in donations, and he had absolutely nothing to do with Black Lives. It's quite funny. It's quite funny, and it just shows you how people are donating to these causes, but they don't know they don't know where that money's actually going. Yeah, right, okay. Sorry, it was an Australian guy. Right, I'll just read you this. So, what we're talking about here is we don't know where this money's going. Like when you donate, you really don't know where that money's going. I'll just read you this, guys, because this was from a couple of days ago, and I just thought it was funny. Biggest Facebook page links to the Black Lives Matter movement was run as a scam by a white man in Australia and has been taken down. CNN has reported it was part of a wider operation which raised more than $100,000 through online fraud fundraising platforms, which have suspended links to the account. So, like, that's a business, isn't it? It's a business now. As soon as there's a thing, guys, you should do it. Like, you should do that. The next time there's a thing, set up a Facebook page, set up a GoFundMe, and just keep that money. Like, you know, if somebody's donating to your cause and your name, bank account, and everything's on there, that's your money. You don't have to do anything with that money. Like, nothing. This is what the problem is with these people funding these things like wildly. Yeah, sorry guys, that just tickled me when I read that. Right. Timsky is saying, I've just seen Saddam Hussein having breakfast, doppelganger. Where was that, Timsky? Where's Saddam having breakfast? I think the once Saddam Hussein was deposed, it was just chaos in the Middle East. Now, I'm not the whole Iraq war. It's a very granular topic, and I don't have time to go through it now, guys. But it's a very granular topic, and you know, I think the ultimate question comes down, and it comes to: should you do the right thing for the wrong reasons? Because I do think, and from my experience of going into Iraq in 2003, from my experience, the Iraqis welcomed that there were bigger problems. And what I understand, like what I say on this channel all the time, people say they understand the Middle East. They don't understand the Middle East, and the Middle East and Iraq was not ready, and is still not ready for a democracy. But Timsky's saying he's seen Saddam Hussein having breakfast. Maybe it is Saddam Hussein. Maybe it's all fake. Maybe it was AI. Maybe he's really not being hung. And Timsky is saying, dig a well, water table is at 3 meters. It depends where you live in the United Kingdom. You can actually go on, there's an online map, and it will, it's an interactive map. You can find all the water courses, and it'll tell you how deep your water table is. Right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys on TikTok, I'm going to be closing you guys down. I'm then going to jump over to YouTube, where we'll continue this live stream. We will, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue this live stream on YouTube. How long have I got? I've got a fair bit of time. So I think we'll be covering quite a lot when we're going over to YouTube, guys. If you've not followed me on YouTube, guys, I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube. I'd appreciate if you guys jump over. Join the chat over there, guys. The chat's open. It's wild. It is absolutely wild, the chat on YouTube. But if you're not going to jump over, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. Don't worry, because I'll be back later on today. I'll be back on at 8 or just before, and we're going to be talking about all the crazy shenanigans that have happened recently. I do have my eye on the Middle East, guys, because there's some, you know, I'm expecting some curveballs in the Middle East. There always is curveballs. I just hope these hostages get released. I think they're due to be released tomorrow, as I understand it right now. Again, I've got question marks, I've got hesitations. I genuinely want all those hostages to be released, guys, and I think it's tomorrow that they're all supposed to be released. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close you guys down now on TikTok. You guys have been fantastic. I'll see you over on YouTube. Right, let me caffeinate myself. Let me get some coffee. Right, I'm just going to joke. Guys, this chat is wild, absolutely wild. Hang on. April Lee is saying Hamas, I'm rolling my tongue out when I'm doing the Hamas thing. Hamas say that it will begin releasing hostages after Netanyahu booed in Tel Aviv. James is saying, did the lady who won the Nobel Prize really give it to Trump? So I heard about this. So allegedly, obviously I wasn't in the room. Donald Trump didn't phone me up and let me know. But allegedly, the lady who won the Nobel Prize, I think she's Venezuelan. She is Venezuelan. allegedly she phoned Trump up and she said, "Yo, Donald, you feel me big time, fam?" No, she phoned Donald Trump up and said she thought he deserved it. I don't know how these things work, guys. It's just a little bit of piece of paper only. Donna is saying the US has helped Ukrainian long-range attacks on the Russian energy for months. Yeah, these things are the attacks on the energy grid, guys. You've got to understand. It's a big thing to take down these energy grids, and the Russian military-industrial complex, it's vast and it's spread out and it's wide. And the way, like here in the United Kingdom, we have the big factories, BAE Systems, Lockheed Martin. Do we have a Lockheed? We will have somewhere. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon. These big defense factory, big contractor. They have them in Russia as well. But what they also have is they empower smaller companies. So anybody with a garage basically and steel cutting tools can produce and provide for the military industrial complex. For example. And I'm just making this up. For example, say the Russians wanted to make a load of pipe bombs or something. I don't know. Whatever, something. And what they needed, and the Russians do this. They use things that are readily available. They used to use. I think in the Chechen War, they used to put hand grenades in glass jars. Screw the lid on and then you throw the glass jars out the back of helicopters or whatever, and then you literally get a very crude, very cheap, like cluster munitions, like grenades are in plentiful supply, so you can just throw them out the back of the and then when the glass smashes, the pin goes and everything goes kaboom. So what I'm getting at here is those glass jars, easily producible. Lots of places can produce those glass jars at scale. If the Russians wanted certain munitions, they would then think, right, what can we use that's readily available? So say scaffolding bars, for example. Say they wanted a piece of scaffolding bar, I don't know, 30 centimeters long with a certain thread on either end, an internal thread on either end, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. They put the call out, they say, right, for every one of these you guys produce, we'll pay you this much. Now, imagine that in the United Kingdom. Because it was for defense, that company would have to have checks and balances. It would have to be up to ISO 9001. It would have to have all the health and safety certificates. They would have to have at least one of their members of staff security cleared. And that's a right faff, guys. That is a massive faff. For cutting a piece of, for literally cutting a piece of scaffolding bar. It's a faff. It's ridiculous. So that's the reality. The Russians they don't have any red tape with their military industrial complex. And this is kind of one of the reasons, well, it's one of the main reasons why I always say that right now, if we're looking at a side-by-side comparison, the Russians fight in NATO minus the United States. It's a win for Russia, guys. It is, and the people are saying that, Russia's swizzled, they're dwizzled, and they're over. They're really not, guys. They're really not. Oh, Donna is saying a woman's being arrested on suspicion of murder after the death of 2 children in Staffordshire. That's horrific. That is horrific. It sounds like my daily lesson, Sean. D&T red tape. Sounds like my daily lesson. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Right. Okay. So April Lee's a teacher here. And yeah, we destroy ourselves with red tape, guys. We absolutely destroy ourselves with red tape. Nothing can be innovated in the United Kingdom. We just can't do it. We've got too much red tape. Like if you wanted to build and develop, like, I don't know, say that Leeds University, I know Leeds University have a really good robotics lab. Say that Leeds University wanted to develop a drone, a fixed wing drone that can land and turn into a tank. Whatever, I don't know. I think that'd be a cool idea, actually. And they wanted to, build it. They could build that in Leeds 100%. They have the knowledge, they have the tools, they have the expertise, they have the computer science. They could build that in Leeds. Not a chance in hell are they going to try and be able to test fly that anywhere in the United Kingdom. So they would then have to take all that infrastructure, all that knowledge, all those people to, like, I don't know, Australia maybe. Somewhere in Eastern Europe, and the costs the cost is just prohibitive. You can't do it in the United Kingdom. We really have tied ourselves up in red tape, and it's sad. It really is sad. Liquid Avenue, hello Liquid Avenue, is saying, hello people. I hear Labour are thinking about taxing houses annually just for being houses. I've not heard about that. Let's have a look. Nothing surprises me, guys. Nothing surprises me. They might have a chimney tax. I remember in the olden days they had a chimney tax, then they had a sun tax for your windows. Surely, that's what your council tax is. Hang on. So, proposed new property tax. A new property tax is being considered to shake up stamp duty and council tax, but how could it work? After using the summer to publicly brainstorm property tax charges, we hoped the party conference would be a chance for the Chancellor to rule out further tax rises for homeowners and get the housing market back on a level footing. But that hasn't been the case. Here's what has been said and what the property tax proposals could mean for you. Replacing stamp duty for buyers with a national property tax. Right, I think that's what you're talking about there. So, you wouldn't pay stamp duty on your house when you move in. You would just pay monthly for it or something. Oh God, I can't. Are they genuinely just forcing people out of they're forcing people into socialism. So now people are just going to sell. People are going to sell and fuck off. People are going to be like, right, I'm getting taxed to death. I've now got a new tax on my home just because I live here. Do you know what? I'm good. I'm going to sell this house. I'm going. That house will be bought by an international investor. That international investor will turn that into a house of multiple occupancy, put people in there who don't pay tax, never paid tax, never had no intention of paying tax, bring in universal basic income, they become spenders, and the economy continues. Replacing council tax with a new local property tax, ending capital gains tax on private residence relief, dubbed the mansion tax. They don't make that much money from that mansion tax, guys. Replacing stamp duty with a national property tax. Stamp duty is currently paid when a property is bought. Those buying homes for less than 125,000 do not pay stamp duty, and first-time buyers are exempt on properties worth up to 300,000. I think this is what Angela Rayner got done for. Those buying a second home or investment are charged above the standard rate. Over the summer, reports in The Guardian suggest officials have been asked to study how a new proportional tax could be implemented and the model its impact before reporting back to ministers. According to a paper which has informed the Treasury think tank, this proposal would see stamp duty taxed, replacing it with a national proportional tax levied on all houses valued above 500 grand. So who's valuing that? Surely you just value your house lower. This rate would be set by a central government, all right, and an annual rate of 0.45 with supplement on houses over $1 million would raise the same as stamp duty. Yeah, but what the thing is here is they will just keep increasing that percentage. We're going to raise these by 0.5%, and over time you get we're becoming, guys, this is terrible. What? The new property tax would be payable on owner-occupied property only after sale. Right, okay, so that's after sale, right, okay. Okay, right, so what they're saying there is they're going to get rid of stamp duty and the person selling the house is going to pay that now. Right, okay, right, I understand that. New property tax rumours already hitting the market. Yeah, it doesn't look good, guys. It looks like if you, oh, here we are, guys. A local property tax proposals. Guys, I'm sorry I'm going on this on a side quest, but like, you know, we own our own house and I'm sure you guys, a lot of you guys do as well. So there's going to be a new local property tax proposed. So it's not come out yet. It's probably going to come out in November, 27th of November. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen, get ready. Officials are said to be studying whether a national property tax is brought in to replace stamp duty. I think they're both going to come in. A new local property tax could replace council tax in the medium term. Right, okay. According to reports, I think they're just going to bring them both in. But again, a severe lack of detail. If this goes ahead in the way the Onward report proposes, it would mean owners rather than residents of the properties worth up to 500 grand would pay varying rates of tax depending on their value of home, with a minimum of 800 each year. Okay, so it's kind of like council tax. But, well, are they going to abolish council tax? So if you rent it makes no, all this is going to be is more money for people who rent their houses out. It's just going to destroy the private rent market. With a minimum of £800 a year, which would go directly to local councils. While you know how well they spend the money. While it's widely agreed council tax needs reforming, I don't think it does, guys. I'm not happy. Well, yeah, you know, it does need reforming. It needs abolishing. Council tax is just the way that the government, your local government, can just be terrible at their job and just keep getting paid for it. Like, can you imagine any other? Imagine a private company, right? Imagine if you run a budget at your wherever you work. Imagine you run a budget. Say you run you work at a school and you run a design and technology. You run the design and technology, the D&T classes at school, and you run the budget. Imagine being over budget and underperforming every year, and all the school does is just keeps giving you more money. They wouldn't, would they? They'd sack you and put someone else in who can manage that money. But no, that's not how the government works. That is not how the government. Right, ladies and gentlemen, let me get the last comments, and I'm gonna close this down. Two Shrubs is saying paying rent for your own house. Yeah, that's what we're literally going to be doing. We're going to be paying rental on it. We're going to be paying a rental tax on our own house. Slim is saying it's a poll tax. This is some crazy taxes coming. Look, guys, listen. This is not financial advice. I'm not qualified to give anyone any financial advice, but we can see this coming, can't we? 26th or 27th of November. That's when the new budget is out. Also, the day that Stranger Things is getting released. So, guys, look. Of everything is going to go up. So if you're in that capacity right now and you do have the ability to go and buy things now, Christmas presents, stuff, whatever that is, you know, buy it now, because the end of November, things are going to start going up, guys. We pay road tax for potholes, water tax for dirty water, national insurance for at least 6 hours wait, and a daily phone call at the doctors. It's all good. It is, guys. It's all good. It's ridiculous. Liquid Avenue is saying, if you can't afford the environmental improvements they are about to force on us, then you will be renting your own paid. Yeah, look, guys, like they're gonna, right, okay, with these environmental things, they're gonna make, well, I don't know what they actually are, because they've not been, they've not been declared yet. But what I think they're gonna do is, they're going to say, right, you can't sell, or you're not allowed to put your house on the market unless it meets these energy efficiency standards. And for a big house, guys, it's going to be expensive to do that. So then big houses, then people with relative large amounts of money in their property, their houses just goes whoom. The price of their property just absolutely drops. You know, absolutely drops. I mean, we're probably going to have to put the we've got a beautiful Victorian stone building, stone house. We're probably going to have to put that external cladding on the outside of it, guys. It's going to be an absolute, it's going to be diabolical. Like, that's realistically the only way we can get our house up to that energy efficiency standard. And it's just going to ruin it. They will eventually force the force the improvements and make you pay for the rest of your life with your home as collateral. I think so as well. Then we'll all have to move, eat bugs. We'll all be older houses. Oh, right. Oh, Alison will be on the English. Right, ladies and gentlemen, guys, you guys have been fantastic. The crux of this live stream, all right? I don't understand what's happening. I don't. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Protests in London, chaos, carnage, confusion. The same people that were out celebrating on the 7th of October, then they started to protest. They wanted the war in Gaza to stop. Now the war in Gaza stopped. They're still out on the streets and they're shouting death to the IDF. You know, at some point, people have got to take a step back and think, right, doesn't matter what we give. Some people are always going to want more, and that's reality, guys. So when you're dealing with those people, I say don't give them anything. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. Thank you for hanging out with me this morning, guys. The chat's gone wild this morning. Thank you so much. Listen, guys, I'm going to go now. I'm going to be back on later. I'm going to be back on at 8. Can you do me a real big favor, guys? Can you please share my stuff on your socials? Because that really helps me out with the algorithm. And if you've not done so already, can you hit the buttons below, guys? The subscribe, the like button, and the bell notification really helps me out with the algorithm, guys. Anyway, I'll be back on later. I'll see you guys later. Have a great Sunday.